But back to 2 Timothy. We got to get there because there are a few more. 2 Timothy chapter 2 and verse 24. And if you're marking this, it says in the 24th verse, and a servant of the Lord must not quarrel, but be gentle to all. Must not quarrel. A grace-energized representation of Christ, fifthly, has a manner that reflects Christ's meekness and gentleness. The pattern that Timothy was to live was that he had the meekness and the gentleness of Christ. He was not quarrelsome. He did not fight. He was gentle to all, able to teach, and patient. Grace-energized young men will stay meek and gentle in the power of Christ's Spirit. We do this by taking Christ's yoke he promised. Remember Matthew 11:28-30? Come unto me, all you that labor and heavy laden. I will give you rest. Take my yoke upon you and learn of me, for I am meek and lowly in heart. That meekness, that gentleness. And these grace-energized young men will grow the fruit of the Spirit of God unhindered in their life. And what is that fruit? Well, one of the expressions or manifestations of the Holy Spirit is meekness. Meekness. What is meekness? When we surrender to allowing the Spirit of God to direct our personality, we find Christ's meekness. When we surrender. And meekness is the opposite of asserting ourself. Meekness is the ending of our personal agenda. Meekness is living daily as crucified with Christ. Meekness. Remember, Moses was the meekest man on earth, it says in the Scriptures. Do you know why? Because he had completely surrendered his life as a vehicle for God. He was one who had a manner that reflected the meekness and gentleness. And that's why it was so uncharacteristic of him when he got, when anger caused him to allow the people to get between him and God, and he started striking the rock. And the Lord said, you are such a bad example that you're not going to, you disobeyed me and did such a terrible thing, because the rock was Christ and it was picturing Christ. And Christ is not to be struck. He was only once for all crucified. And so there was a lot of spiritual implications there. So he didn't get to go in the promised land. But the bottom line is that Christ living my life in and through me energizes me to have the meekness and gentleness of Christ. And so when Christ is at work in us, our life is clean, our body is yielded, our heart is pure, our mind is discerning, and the manner that we live reflects Christ. We wear his yoke. Even that yoke picture is a discipleship picture. The idea is a yoke had two sides. And always the new ox was yoked to the mature one that knew the way to stay straight in plowing. They never put two novices, and they didn't usually need two really skilled. They would allow one to be the leader and to teach and guide and cause the other to follow. And that is what Christ says. We need to be yoked to him and learn meekness.